Welcome to the Point to Point Podcast, a podcast for insights at the intersection of logistics, technology, and customer experience. I'm your host, Adam Melton, founder of CareTags, a company aimed at helping animal owners elevate their pet's life into the cloud and increase visibility while their animals are being transported. Each episode of Point to Point, we connect with industry leaders and customer experience innovators to unpack how logistics is evolving through a new use of technology and a renewed focus on customer journey. Today, I am excited to welcome Darren Mackintosh, who is the Managing Director of PetAir UK, one of the leading pet travel services in the UK, and Darren's experience and perspective from over a decade in the vet clinic space before he transitioned to his new role at PetAir promises to offer fresh insights into transforming logistics for greater transparency, efficiency, and exceptional customer satisfaction. Let's jump into today's conversation. Welcome, Darren, to the podcast. Thanks for talking to us today.
Hi, Adam. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for joining us again. Would love to hear a little bit about your background, and I understand it's a new role for you at PetAir UK, but share with us a little bit about how long you've been with PetAir UK and your background before that.
So I've joined the company on the 2nd of January this year. So okay. I've been in the role for 7 months. Prior to that, I worked for the parent company of PetAir called IVC Evidensia.
Okay.
So I worked in the operational side of the veterinary practice division, which is the main part of IVC Evidensia. So I was the regional director for Scotland, Northern Ireland, and the Isle of Man.
Okay.
So that's kept me busy. I've been doing that for 14 years. So pretty much since IVC started its journey to where it's got to just now. And prior to that, it was a bit of a varied background. I was heavily involved in mainly leadership roles throughout my career, but a big focus on I worked in health and fitness in that industry. I worked for a Premier League football club. And then I ended up in veterinary practice before the practice then was bought by IVC, and then I fell into IVC. But I've been doing that for the majority of my career, 14 years.
Gotcha. Okay. You were not a vet yourself, but you were on the operational side when you entered that space. Okay. Gotcha. So you've gone from football to pets. It's quite a career transition.
But mainly it's been in sort of, leadership roles, people leadership roles, the commercial side of business, and also the sort of people leadership side of things as well. So, it's if you get that level of experience, you can run a number of different businesses because they've all got the same core strengths.
So this is a newer role for you specifically at PetAir UK, but you're not new to pets in general. But what kind of drew you to this role as managing director? What kind of excites you about this new vertical within the animal space?
Yeah, I mean, I love the company I've worked for. I wouldn't have worked for them for 14 years if I hadn't. But I've been doing my previous role for a number of years. And I just simply wanted to look at what other opportunities were available to us. So we own a number of other businesses out with veterinary. So PetAir is a subsidiary of IVC Evidensia. And the opportunity came along sort of October last year. The role sounded really exciting. I did a bit of research online. I spoke to a few people and I thought, you know what, this looks like a business that I could go in that sort of first MD role and make a real difference to. I didn't know a huge amount about it, but it looked fun, it looked exciting, and it looked opportunistic. And also it was a role that came with the opportunity to grow and develop it. And with it being an international business, flying pets all over the world, then it just ticked every box for me. I was excited to get the opportunity.
What's your initial impression? I mean, you obviously knew about the company because IVC owned it, and I'm sure you had heard of it and you knew it was a thing. But now that you're in it day to day, what's your impression of the company and I guess more broadly speaking, the vertical of pet transportation so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think I wanted to be involved in a business that customer experience and customer service was at the very, very top, providing great service to clients and pets. And obviously pets is my passion from my background before. With it being an international role, that was exciting. So you're talking and dealing with countries all over the world. It's definitely a market where there's a number of big competitors. There's a number of people that do it on a very smaller level. And I just think, what I loved about PetAir, we've got a 4.9 scoring on Trustpilot. The team are really passionate about what they do. They care. They love the company. They love PetAir. Any feedback you see, if you look on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, every comment you see is really, really positive. So it just felt like a company where we get a lot right, and our customers really do like what we do. Coming in with a fresh pair of eyes, though, was an opportunity to say, how can we take it forward? How could we potentially grow it, make it better, but maintain the same core values of how successful PetAir has been up until now?
Yeah, I'm curious because your background in the pet space has largely been in vet. What insights, things you've learned there in the way that vertical is moving? What are you bringing to the table in pet travel from that background?
Yeah, I think pets are an extension to people's families, and with that comes a responsibility because in some cases people love their pets more than more than other parts of their family. Um, I think having the operational background that I had, being quite an innovative person, and looking at what other competitors do, I think there was so many opportunities to add new ways of remaining the core, moving a pet
Right.
from one part of the world to another.
Hmm.
That's essentially what we do. How do we grow and maintain that really good, solid customer base? Do a great job, but actually look at really differentiating ourselves away from what everybody else does.
Right.
So what I've spent a lot of my first 6 months doing is holding true to the core strength of the business in terms of the customer experience, but also looking at new initiatives that give people more options or reasons to come with us,
Right.
rather than somebody else.
Yeah, and I'd love to jump into those initiatives here in just a few minutes. But since you do have such an experience with pets, I'm curious to know how things have changed from a pet owner's perspective, like how they relate to their pets, how they view their pets. You already mentioned jokingly that sometimes they like their pets more than their family members, but I just wonder if you have noticed any trends with how people are relating to their pets, and just interacting with them and their expectations regarding their pets. So can you speak to that a bit?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we all came through was COVID and lockdown, and it's the one thing that people went out and got a pet.
Right. Hmm.
Um, and the actual explosion of puppies and kittens into my old business was
Hmm.
huge,
Hmm.
which was great, but also brought its own stresses and strains as well. But I think more and more people, you know, they like to get fresh air. They love their animals. I think there's a definite increase in people that are pet owners now, and of course, more people have got the option to move around the world. So therefore, transporting their pet is something that we do. So I think, don't know the stats on it, but I think pet ownership and how people feel about their animals, I'm sure they have done the same and loved them the same for many, many centuries.
Hmm.
But definitely an increase in the pet being part of the family.
Hmm.
And we're seeing more and more of that. And lockdown certainly increased that when it happened.
Right. So yeah, you have this influx of people purchasing puppies, kittens during COVID, but then as you kind of hinted at too, that COVID allowed for a lot more people to work remotely. So you have this
Yeah.
whole trend of digital nomads, people moving to other countries, temporarily or, for a year or two. And of course, they're going to bring their pets, right? So yeah, it's certainly an interesting dynamic with the uptick in the overall amount of pet ownership, but then just as you mentioned, kind of the demand of needing to bring their pets with them, and come and but that that's good for services like your own, right? Where there's higher demand, there's more customers, right? And they're willing to spend more, especially if that relationship with the pet has changed in the past few years. There's a deeper connection there, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that will only continue.
Hmm.
I don't see there being a change or a slowdown in pet ownership. long may that continue, because that just keeps us all busy.
Right, absolutely. So, you mentioned bringing fresh eyes to this specific vertical, even though you're, somewhat of a veteran in the pet space. This is a new vertical for you, pet transportation. Have you got a sense of how the industry as a whole, if there are any, got a sense of how the industry as a whole might be kind of lacking or behind the curve in some regards with kind of other parallel industries? Have you got a sense of that at all?
Yes, I mean, when I first started with PetAir, I didn't have any contacts. I didn't really have a network.
Hmm.
I reached out to the airlines. I reached out to partners that I call, which are people that we work with all over the world, to really get an understanding of how it all works. And
Hmm.
I think pet transportation, pet travel has been probably fairly unchanged over the years. I think yes, people can get more innovative with technology, better websites. They're doing all that side of things. So,
Hmm.
and that's why I was kind of very keen to say, look, we don't want to be the same as everybody else. We want to stand out for the crowd. I think I was already coming into a really good head start in terms of how our customers view us.
Hmm.
I touched on Trustpilot earlier,
Yeah.
and I didn't want anything that would change that. All I wanted to do is just make what we offer feel and look a bit different, but get all the basics right, so that if somebody inquires through Pet Air, we get back to them really quickly. We follow up.
Hmm.
Um, you know, you asked me earlier in terms of what was an attractive thing for me, and just a major thing for us. But we partner with British Airways.
Hmm.
They're a big company, and we work really closely with them. So that's been a real great help for us, and a really good relationship that we have, and hopefully that continues on a long term. But yeah, I think there's everything from big companies that do it to people that essentially do it, fairly in a fairly small level. But we just wanted to stand out from the crowd.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it seems like you had a great basis to start with. As you said, customer satisfaction was high with Pet Air already, and so it's coming in there and augmenting or supplementing a great core process that you already have in place, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so let's dive into some of these new initiatives here in the last few months that you guys have been working on. You rolled out a number of new offerings. Can you walk us through some of those?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first started, we thought, how do we stand out from the crowd? One of the things that we kind of did, but we didn't really shout about it, is we offer a fast track service. Pets that owners don't always have lots of time to plan these things.
Hmm.
If you're moving out to Australia, you might need a bit more time. Well, you have to have a bit more time in
Right.
terms of the rules around there. But we can fly clients and their pets to the US, Canada, Dubai now. We just launched it there as well, and Europe with only a couple of weeks' notice.
Okay.
So we called that fast track. We promote that fairly heavily, and that's really, really been popular because people just assume that these things take a lot of time, and we help them through that. Um, Pet transportation's expensive.
Hmm.
It's a lot more than some people think it is, and obviously it varies per country. One of the things we brought in, and partnering up with another subsidiary that within the business, was to offer a sort of flexible payment plan. We didn't want to pass that cost on to the client, and we don't. It's interest free, but it allows people to maybe break down that cost for traveling. Some people, their work is moving them, but if it's a family decision and they're moving two dogs and a cat out to Australia, then that can really mount up. So that was really, really, really key for us. It would be wrong not for us to do something that linked in with the veterinary side of IVC, and I suppose that was one of the benefits I had of the knowledge of what else was going on. So something that's very new to us, but really exciting, and nobody else does this, is we offered an upgrade to our packages that we offer. We do, Traveller, which is we do everything apart from the vet work. We've
Hmm.
got Premium, which is everything, including the vet work. But we also launched our Complete Care, which is our vet-led wellness package. And very simply, you can upgrade where you will get access to a nutritionist in advance of travel for any guidance you need in terms of food changes, because you move to a different country. It's
Hmm.
same supermarket. We offer a behavioralist to be able to prepare their pet for travel, going
Wow.
into going into their pet cabin, doing anything like that, and
Mhm.
staying there. But we also have, and this is the beauty of it, we have a team of vets that you can have access to 24/7 up
Okay.
until the point of flying. So
Wow.
anything you want to check in, it's all digital.
Okay.
Our team at Paw Squad. So that's been really, really innovative for us, and something that if you're nervous about your pet, or your pet is nervous, or you're nervous of your travel,
Right.
you can upgrade with that.
It
So
does seem like that there's lots of nerves surrounding it because, most people have flown countless times before internationally, domestically, but a lot of customers in this space, it's their first time
yeah,
transporting their pets specifically, and so there's lots of nerves around it. I think a lot of times it's the owners are more stressed than their pets at the at the end of the day. But there's definitely stress factors on the pets. So this sounds like an awesome way to be able to mitigate that to some extent. So how do your customers access that? Is it through a chat interface? Is it video calls, or how exactly does that work?
it's just part of the process. So that, if they inquire through PetAir,
Hmm.
and they want to go ahead with us, that's great. And then
Hmm.
obviously we talk to them about the different services that we offer. So complete care by way of upgrade is something we talk to them about,
Hmm.
and it's either something for them, or something it's not. But it certainly provides that veterinary care in addition to pet transportation that no one's ever done before. So it's been really, really well received so far.
Awesome. Yeah, it's helpful that you're part of a group that has access to that, to the vet teams and whatnot, and the
Yeah.
nutritionists. It's really cool. And what other initiatives are you guys rolling out?
Yeah, so we one of the things that's really important to us is that whole the technology side of things.
Hmm.
So we are delighted to be the first UK pet transportation company to offer CareTags. We're really excited about this. Not only, and it was so important that we led the way. This is not something you buy. This is something you get as part of our
Hmm.
standard terms of business. But what essentially CareTags will give us is the ability to upload on their collar.
Hmm.
Um, all the documentation that, anything like vaccination records, all their different things that they do. We send the tag directly to the client in a nice presentation box when they join with us, so they can get the benefits from that straight away. Um, the yeah, and that allows them to get, do all the sort of work with that there. The
Hmm.
second thing that we're really excited about was just the contact between the owner and ourselves,
Right.
each step through the journey. So what CareTags allows us to do, by a QR code that sits on our pet travel cabins, is being able to say they've arrived at the kennels with us, they're fine, Fluffy's in great shape, they've arrived at the airport ready for their flight, but
Hmm.
also working with our partners all the way through the journey till such a time as they get to their destination.
Right.
And that, it's the one thing that people worry about is, how is my pet?
Right.
Not every pet travels on the same plane.
Right.
So once they leave them, and having been out with the drivers in our team when I first started, when they hand over their pet to our team, the fuss and worry and reminding of all the things that's important to them,
Hmm.
that contact that we can continue to have with them throughout their journey has
Right.
been critical. We can add photos to that.
Right.
We can do all sorts of things.
Just to throw in there, like when I started CareTags, the whole idea was the industry as a whole had kind of taken the mantra that no news is good news.
Yeah,
But with so many things in our lives today, being so interconnected, and being in the know of when your Uber's coming, when your food delivery's coming, when your groceries are going to be delivered, and knowing exactly the update, the status of those things, but then to come to your precious pet, they're going traveling across the world, like I said earlier, probably for the first time ever. They have no insight into that. No news is good news is kind of been the mantra. So I started CareTags with that in mind, being able to offer an easy way end to end for stakeholders, your drivers, other agents that you hire, facilities, airlines, to be able to all participate in this to get those updates served out to owners. And it just kind of speaks to, as you said, people are kind of a ball of nerves when they're doing this, right? And that's why you launched your complete care to kind of get them ready, but then CareTags kind of dovetails into that on the day
yeah,
of travel, right through the travel phase.
yeah. And the other side of it is, and this is the bit that people probably don't think about at the point of preparing for travel is the beauty of the tag itself is that when they get to the other side, new house, new city, new town, new destination, it's a very different and new environment for a pet. So the other beauty and genius element of this almost is that if for whatever reason their dog did disappear off or got a fright, and the use of the QR code on the tag would mean that they can actually, providing the owner takes a picture of that, then they can be directly hooked up to
Right.
whoever their owner is and get their pet back. So there's three really key things, but I think for us it's staying ahead of, and that's an example when I said about PetAir being different to what everybody else is offering. We're the first in the UK to offer CareTags. I'm sure plenty more will follow, but we want to be the first.
Yeah.
And we know that we work with partners in the US and other parts of the world that do it as well. So we can network the whole thing up. But
Yeah.
so that's been a real benefit. I think the other thing we did very quickly was I think it's a really confusing business when it comes to pricing.
Mhm.
We send out quotes. Some companies include a little part of pet transportation, and there's other costs that are almost hidden costs.
Mhm.
We try and offer as many costs that will form part of that as possible. But of course, if people are shopping around, they end up seeing lots of different numbers, and they're just not sure what's good, what's bad, what's indifferent. So one of the things we brought in was what we call a price match guarantee. So if providing somebody sends us a quote from another shipper,
Mhm.
we will then go through and actually say, well, yes, the one that you've got from another company is less, but it doesn't include these other costs you
Right.
will have to make.
Mhm.
And when we actually do the comparison, quite often our numbers better, but
Mhm.
equally not. We can then say, look, you really want to fly with pets here. How can we make that affordable for you? So that's something that we shout about quite loudly because I think pricing in this business is really confusing and there's a lot
Mhm.
to it. It's not just
Right.
like buying a car.
Right.
There's
Right.
so many add-ons and
Right.
so many other considerations you need to make.
And of course, every company has slightly different nomenclature terms that they use, and so that makes shopping really hard to do kind of an apples to apples comparison, right?
Right. And all we want to be was transparent because imagine that there was a few costs that were left out from the way we do things, and that's why we include as many things as we can up front.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden you have a cost in mind of moving your pet, and then that company comes back and goes, right, we now need to pay this, and this.
Mhm.
Um, that's a really poor customer experience because all
Right.
you'll just feel is, well, why didn't you tell me about those costs in the first place?
Gotcha.
So we wanted to be much more transparent, but also really try and help clients understand the costs.
Mhm.
And I guess the last couple of things from what we're doing is that we're now able to export and import out of Manchester.
Oh, okay.
PetAir always was out of Heathrow.
Mhm.
We do most of our work out of Heathrow, um, some out of Gatwick, but
Mhm.
we then got to, it just means that for people that live more up north in the UK,
Mhm.
we can actually fly them and take them and clear them from Manchester. So we're tremendously excited about that. And obviously, our business is not just about exporting pets;
Mhm.
it's partnering with companies like ourselves elsewhere in the world, where we are the clearing agent for their pet coming into the UK.
Gotcha.
And fairly recently, we extended that to offer a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week service,
Okay.
which means that a pet doesn't always arrive between the hours of 9 to 5. And I just
Right.
felt we were a bit restricted
Mhm.
to our import clearance. So all these things I've kind of sort of summarized. Some of it is a bit more common sense. Some are things that are new. Some of things are advancing in technology. But I think what we wanted to be able to do to our customers is be able to say, look, we're not just a company that moves your pet from A
Right.
to B. There's a whole host of other things that we can do to make that experience as best as possible.
Yeah, gotcha. And did I see something about that you're offering private jet travel in some fashion or another?
Yeah, it's something that we're just finishing getting that side of things organized. But yeah, we are looking at bringing in what will then become our superior package.
Okay.
We're just sort of getting the I's dotted and the T's crossed to be able to launch that service. But
Gotcha.
yes, we'll be able to give our clients, for those that want option to fly with us through private jet.
Hmm.
And also the main thing is the ability to fly your pet with it sat next to you on the plane. Because,
Right.
some people really struggle with the thought of the being part of the cargo shipment when
Right.
actually,
Right.
so that's again, brand new offering. Nobody does that, but we're, as I
Yeah.
say, we haven't quite launched it yet, but
Right. Okay.
we're nearly there.
Gotcha. So obviously, it's probably going to be more expensive than the normal way of transporting pets. But who is it? Who will that kind of be ideal for? What kind of customer would be? I mean, you mentioned people who can't fathom sending their pets via cargo, but is there any other use cases for that sort of service?
I mean, you say that, and it is more expensive. But when actually, you got to think that some people, with all the costs of transporting their pet, but may decide to go business class,
Oh, right. Yeah.
first class. When you put the two together, it's not as expensive. But
Gotcha.
actually, what most of the market of people that do that is that they just want to fly in cabin with their pet, and they will find ways of being able to afford that service. So it's not just for the rich and the mighty, it's for people that genuinely think that they might have a sensitive pet, or they might have a nervous pet, that they just would worry about them going through that journey. And when you've got to fly through a couple of countries to get to somewhere like Australia, for example, if you're not flying direct, then being able to sit and look at your pet looking back at you and making sure they're fine,
Right.
it does that.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, we kind of touched on this earlier, the kind of increased expectations of customers and their connection to their pets. And so this is kind of just a natural iteration of that, right? Or a development of that. I mean, maybe we can circle back to that kind of idea of transparency and reassurance. What has your sense been of what customers expect? I mean, are they coming to you at PetAir with an assumption of what the transparency, what the customer reassurance is going to be like, or do they really have no idea? And so you're kind of setting the stage and saying, "Hey, here's what you can expect from beginning to end, as far as reassurance, transparency, those sorts of things, communication."
There's so much to do to fly a pet from A to B. Even the vets and vet practice, there's a lot of work that they need to do. That's where our premium service, we've got vets that we use on site at our Tarbay next to Heathrow
Hmm.
premises, that we can do all of that. But to most people, they've got no idea of the complexity around moving a pet from A to B. So actually, you know, something like that where we can say, look, we know what we're doing.
Hmm.
Don't worry about it. And the list of everything we do, from rabies vaccination certificates, gaining the documentation, which people will have in some cases filed nicely in a box at home, or they've got to go hunting for it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I think it's the real ease. And I think if you were trying to do it on your own, yourself, and people do, I'm sure, you'd just be worried, and people may then make mistakes. They haven't got something that could slow down the whole process. So it's not straightforward, but then that's, I guess, where we excel, just taking that whole trouble out of their hands.
Right, right. So, but there is an element of education too, right? Like if
Yeah.
the customer has no idea what to expect. So how have you guys thought about that or strategized about that at all, as far as like I'm thinking specifically in terms of like a new customer, like the onboarding experience. How do you kind of set expectations for a service, for a process that they probably have no expectations of, or if they do, they're just not realistic in regards to what can happen. So yeah, how have you guys
Yeah.
strategized about that?
I think there's two things there. One is that one of the other things that we did, which is more operational, is we put a brand new website together for PetAir. It's much more advanced. It does a lot more things, but it also gives a lot more client education. We've got country guides. We've got what to expect. We've got how to measure your pet in
Hmm.
preparation for travel. We could do a lot more with that. We are doing a lot more of that. We have quite a lot of documents that we attach with our quotation, which basically really goes through, here's everything we need from you. Because obviously every country is different and has
Hmm.
different requirements. Every airline is different with different
Right.
requirements. And that's why it's an absolute. So the website gave us the ability to give the customers more information about what to prepare for.
Hmm.
And obviously the first thing you then do, we make it easy. You just go onto our website, you ask for a quote, we give you that information, we get that quote out to you that day, or certainly within 24 hours. And then we then give them lots of information to take on board and think about
Gotcha.
before
Yeah.
they
Seems like
stumble.
you guys have a good drip of emails that post request, right? That kind of highlight some of the things that we've spoken about on this podcast, right?
Yeah. And actually a team, we've got 42 people that work with us in PetAir. We're the largest of our kind in the UK. And we actually split our business, our people into teams. So obviously the sales team pick up any new inquiries. But when
Hmm.
somebody's made the commitment, they want to fly with PetAir, we have a specific team called our booking team, and they work tirelessly with that client from basically being handed over from our sales team, all the way through to the point of them flying. And that's a specific team. It would be too much just for one person to
Right.
be able to do everything from start to
Right.
finish.
I
So,
see.
so
So
that makes us pretty different.
right. So they offer sort of very personalized service, hand
Yeah.
holding along the way. So that kind of speaks to that education process of setting expectations throughout, and just raising the bar as you mentioned with all your initiatives for customer experience. That's one aspect of it, right? Having that person assigned to the
Yeah.
client.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it seems like with all these initiatives, let's see, we have the price match guarantee, fast track, pet travel, flexible payments, complete care, CareTags, then your upcoming superior package with the private jet travel. You guys are doing a lot in a short amount of time, which is awesome to see, especially as we've kind of hinted at the beginning of the discussion in an industry that is kind of status quo, just kind of doing the core offering, but not much more than that. So it's really exciting. Do you think? To kind of prognosticate, think about the future, do you think some of these things are going to become sort of new benchmarks for the rest of the industry, or how do you see some of these initiatives that you guys are pioneering?
Yeah, I mean, I think like everything else, companies, I suppose coming in with a fresh pair of eyes from a varied background, you could maybe see things that I felt that would just add value to the customer experience. And like any competition, I don't doubt, people will follow suit on certain things. We'll pick up ideas from other people.
Hmm.
So I'd like to think anybody else that does some of the things we do, it's a bit of a tick in the box, feather in the cap.
Hmm.
Because obviously we must be doing something right if they follow suit. Um, but actually some of it's not, some of it's kind of common sense, and it's just really good high standards of customer experience.
Right.
So, um, maybe more labeled and maybe more promoted to help the client more rather than just being, it is what it is and you get what you get.
Gotcha. Okay, totally makes sense. You mentioned that your superior package, that's kind of that's one of the things that you're working across for pushing across the finish line. But what else is up next for PetAir UK? What do the next 6 to 12 months look like for you and for the team there at PetAir UK?
I think we're in the thick of our very busy summer period. July's been exceptionally busy. August will be the same. September will be the same. I think for now it's um, just making sure that the levels of people flying in the summer, particularly, a lot of people have extended holidays, so they use the summer period to make that move. So I think we've worked hard over the last 6 months to get these initiatives launched. I think we'll have a period of just making sure that we don't drop any balls, and we make sure that every pet and client that we fly is flawless, and not overload the team with anything new. We've got some ideas of what else we can do. I think it's important that we take a bit of a breather, make
Hmm.
sure that what we're doing is right for us and
Hmm.
it's working. And then probably in the winter months, think, right, well, what else can we do to make us more unique,
Hmm.
but also give us growth opportunity, but also most importantly, give us the best experience for our clients.
Right. Awesome. Okay. So take a breather for a bit here. Make sure what you're rolling out is integrated, working well, and then looking forward to some other things. That's exciting. So how can people follow along or get in touch with PetAir UK?
So we obviously visit the website, um, um, which would be the sort of main thing to do. one of the things that the younger audience now, you've got to be all over your social media. I felt that was something we weren't particularly strong on when I first started. So we have a Facebook page, so follow us on Facebook. We obviously we do Instagram. We do lots of videos. We try and do lots of education and things like that. But also, and it's maybe something I didn't mention from earlier, but one of the team who had been with us nearly 20 years in the sales team, we moved them into a business development role,
Okay.
where we can actually actively promote our services to companies that will move people with work,
Okay.
on the business development side. So so that's a relatively new thing for us. So we've started to get a lot more involved in LinkedIn. So
Okay.
if you haven't liked us on LinkedIn, go
Okay.
on. It's a great way of being able to communicate differently than we would perhaps on Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, there's lots of good stuff in there. So if you're not following now, please do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Darren. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me. I know, as you mentioned, it's super busy season, so thank you so much for your time.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Well, that wraps up today's episode of Point to Point. A big thank you again to Darren for sharing valuable insights and actionable ideas with us. Remember, logistics can be more than just moving goods from point A to point B. By leveraging new technology and practices from other verticals and industries, there's a real opportunity to transform customer experiences. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe and like. And if you have any suggestions for future topics or guests, feel free to drop a comment on the video. I'm Adam Melton. Until next time, keep innovating and enhancing the journey.